Hello everyone, welcome back. Now let's discuss about hypothesis testing. It is one of the most important points in statistics. So today we will talk about what is hypothesis test, and we will also see steps involved in hypothesis testing and what is p-value, what is significance level. We will also take a very simple example to understand how to perform hypothesis testing. So these are the things that we are going to discuss today. Now let's start off with the definition of statistical hypothesis test. So a statistical hypothesis test is a method of statistical inference used to decide whether the data at hand sufficiently support a particular hypothesis or assumption. In simple terms, we try to find whether the assumptions that we have made about the data are true or false. So that's what the hypothesis test is. Now let's see what are the steps involved in hypothesis testing. The first step is to choose a test statistics. It can be mean, median, mode, range, interquartile range. So we discussed about all these things in the starting of the series. So it can be anything. After that, in the second step, we need to state our null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. After that, we need to decide the level of significance. So we will discuss about all these things in detail. If you don't know about null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis, if you don't know about level of significance, don't worry, we will discuss about all these things. And in the step 4, we will perform the test. We will draw out samples, we will calculate p-value and things like that. And at the end, we will decide whether we have to reject the null hypothesis or we should not reject the null hypothesis based on the p-value and significance level. In the conclusion section, if p-value is less than alpha, we reject null hypothesis, and if p-value is greater than alpha, we do not reject null hypothesis. Now let's talk about what is p-value. So p-value is nothing but a conditional probability of getting a statistics given that null hypothesis is true. And significance level is a threshold to decide whether to reject or not reject the null hypothesis. Now let's try to understand this whole process using an example. So in this example, we want to decide whether the heights of students from two different schools are same or not. So we will follow these steps. So first we will have to choose the statistics. So in step 1, we will choose mean difference. So mean 1 minus mean 2. Let's say if the difference is greater than 10, we will say they have difference. And if mean 1 minus mean 2 is less than or equal to 10, we will say they don't have difference in height. So that is what we will decide in the step 1. In second step, we will decide our null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis is also represented by h of a. So yeah, I personally like 1, so I just use that. But if you see in certain books or notes or lectures, HA, that is simply means it is alternate hypothesis. So our null hypothesis will be they have same heights, and alternate hypothesis will be different heights. In mathematical terms, it will simply mean that mu1 minus mu2 or mean 1 minus mean 2 will be greater than 10, and mean 1 minus mean 2 will be less than or equal to 10. In step 3, we have to decide the significance level. Significance level is represented by alpha. So usually it is set as 0.05. So we will take 0.05. In step 4, we perform the test. So for this, we will need a data set to perform statistical test. So we don't really have here. So what we will do is we will assume two different cases. Case 1, case 2. In case 1, we will say that p-value is 0.9, and in case 2 we will take p-value as 0.04. So in previous slide here we have seen that if p-value is less than alpha, we reject null hypothesis, and if p-value is greater than alpha, we do not reject a null hypothesis. So here we will have p-value which is greater than 0.05, which is alpha. So in this case we will not reject the null hypothesis, and in this case we have p-value less than 0.05, so we will reject null hypothesis. Well, this part is step 5. Calculating p-value is the step 4. Now let's take another example where we will actually calculate p-value, and this is even simpler example where we want to find whether a coin is fair or not. So in first step we will decide our statistics, and here it is nothing but probability. In second step we will decide null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis will be coin is fair, and alternate hypothesis is going to be not fair. So here it is going to be probability as 0.5. Here probability will not be equal to 0.5. Step 3 is setting up the significance level. So here again we will take 0.05 or 5%. In step 4 we will perform the test. So we tossed the coin first time and we got head. So in the first time anyways there are two possibilities, getting a head or a tail, so still it is 0.5, so we are fine for now. We tossed it the second time and we got head again. So when we toss a coin 2 times, there are 2 possibilities for both, so there are a total of 4 possibilities and we have got head. So now the probability is 0.25, which is still above 0.05, so we are still fine. Now we tossed it for the third time and we got head again, and when we tossed it for the third time, now the probability has become 0.125, because if we calculate in the similar way, this is 2, 2 and 2, which is nothing but 1 by 8, and this gives us 0.125. If I toss it for the fourth time, we got head again, and now the probability will be 0.06. You can calculate it in the same way, but it is still above the threshold value or the significance level. So we tossed it for the fifth time and we got head again, and now the probability will be 0.03, and now this is less than our alpha. So here we can say that the p-value, and this is nothing but the p-value. So now we can say that the p-value is less than alpha, so we can reject null hypothesis and we can say that the coin is not fair. So that will be our step 5, where we will say that p-value is less than alpha, so we reject null hypothesis. So this is it, what I want to discuss in hypothesis testing. Today it was mainly theoretical and to understand what hypothesis testing is and to get a bit of idea about it and to get a little bit of flavor. So I hope you were able to understand what hypothesis testing is. So yeah, see you in the next one. Happy learning.